What could be more absurd than taking a commuter train to go camping? Well, for one, a city named Industry. A city I feel has far too few train stations for the amount of people and industries it serves, but nonetheless that's where we're starting. Today we're on a quest for fun and excitement, but the station proudly claims it was constructed for business and commerce. You know, it really sounds like Lord Business from the Lego Movie designed this city. Our first train is a Riverside Line to downtown Riverside, where we will transfer to the 91 Perris Valley Line to Moreno Valley. The weekday schedules for these two lines line up very congruously in that 3 of the trains have a direct transfer in Riverside with only a 10-minute layover. However, since the Riverside Line does not run on the weekends, our return trip on Sunday will be a little bit different, but more on that later. Within minutes we are greeted by the lush fields of the Cal Poly Pomona School of Agriculture, which were actually the site of a recent transportation improvement project to divert freight trains off the Alhambra subdivision, which were causing major traffic jams at Temple Avenue. Personally, I would have done it the other way around. That way they could have added a train station at Cal Poly. Making our way into the city, we approach our first station stop of downtown Pomona, a strategically located station which features plenty of bus connections and some new transit-oriented developments nearby. This station is also served by the Amtrak Sunset Limited, which travels between Los Angeles and New Orleans. Heading east from Pomona, we pass through a small Union Pacific yard in Montclair, just before splitting with the tracks Amtrak uses. Next, we pass by the large Ontario International Airport, site of endless complaints as to why Metrolink doesn't have a train station here. Personally, I think instead of rerouting the Riverside Line, they should just move the terminals to the south side where the current tracks are. Problem solved. We then arrive at the Ontario East Station. This is a popular commuter station, as evidenced by the amount of people detraining here. Shortly after, to the south, we see the Union Pacific Miraloma Yard, a large terminal for new automobile transportation. Because as we know, Southern California goes through a lot of cars, they gotta get here somehow. The hills come into view as we approach our next stop of Jurupa Valley Petali, which I used to think was pronounced Jurupa Valley.
Our next station stop is Jurupa Valley.
The scenery opens up as we approach the bridge over the Santa Ana River, which for some reason I didn't record.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the last final stop for Metrolink train 406. Everybody must train in.
Upon arrival in Riverside, I question the practice of dropping us off on a middle platform and then immediately cutting us off as we're trying to exit the platform to make it over the bridge to our transfer. It seems like the platform is long enough that they could have dropped us off ahead of the walkway, avoiding this entire situation. Sounds like an email I need to write. Once the train had cleared, it was time to make it over the bridge to board our next train. Soon after departure, we branch off of the San Bernardino subdivision heading towards Perris, and our first stop is Riverside Hunter Park, UCR. UC Riverside is home to one of the world's largest citrus variety collections that are used for research and development of new citrus. I learned about this on an old Huell Hauser episode. Continuing south towards Moreno Valley, we get a nice view of the canyon. This is actually one of the proposed high-speed rail routes from LA to San Diego. Will this be the one that gets chosen? Sunset shots. Everyone likes them. Everyone loves them. We eventually arrived to Moreno Valley Station, to which I had previously pointed out that they are adding a new station platform here. I hope the purpose of this one is to make riding the train easier, unlike the one they added at Anaheim Canyon. That has got to be the coolest papier-mâché rendering of the cab cars they don't even use anymore. Now you may be wondering why we are getting off at Moreno Valley when the lake is named after Perris. Well, after having tried both routes myself, the conclusion is hands down in favor of Moreno Valley, for 3 simple reasons: bike lanes, wind, and climbing. The wind is really only a benefit when traveling in the afternoon, which I would not be doing in this case, because I stayed over at my friend Moses' house, where we continued on the following morning. This was, however, a Saturday morning, which meant plenty of opportunities for garage sale deviations. This shirt is a throwback to that pillowcase I bought in the Oceanside video. I finally found one of those keep calm variants that speaks to me. I also bought some drill bits that were professionally made in China. I wonder what that means. Traveling along Cactus Avenue, we came across a generous fig tree.
Figs!
And being late summer, it's perfect time for a snack. Score. After our final garage sale, we arrived at the Moreno Gate, which is the easier of the two entrances. A mere quarter mile of climbing, and it's smooth sailing from there. Cyclists enter the main gates free of charge, and our camp spots only cost $10 a night, which additionally do not require a reservation, so even on a crowded night there's a good chance you'll get a spot, as it is a very underutilized amenity. I've camped here at least half a dozen times, and only once have I run into another hike and bike camper. It's funny because last time they wrote down the color of our bikes, this time it's the color of our tents. Yeah. Now there is one catch to all of this discount, and that the hike and bike spot is right next to the sanitary dumping site, which may lead to some unwarranted smells now and then. But other than that, it's a fairly good spot. So yes, they did get rid of the picnic bench, but on the plus side, they fixed the drinking fountain.
Oh, did they?
So now it actually sprays a full stream of water. It's also right next to the horseshoe arena, which I have no idea how to use. Come on, people! There's a dumpster right there! Cool thing we did last year was we ran out of wood, so we just started harvesting this eucalyptus bark off the ground, which burns pretty good since eucalyptus trees have so much oil in them. And they smell good. Alright, let's do a bathroom review. Okay, first of all, pro tip is supposed to leave this closed so the gases can go out of the vent instead of gassing up the outhouse. And then urinal version, and pretty standard here. There's actually toilet paper. And if we are desperate, there are actual bathrooms in that direction with showers, which we'll be checking out later. A little bit old, but hey, look at that. This was manufactured in 1997, the month of March. I was like 4 years old. Oh, and later at night we found out there were black widow spiders living in here, so something to look out for. Alright, Moses, how is it possible that my camping setup is so much more space than yours? You just got that little thing and that little thing.
That's all I need. It's not about the size, it's how you use it, my boy.
He has a point here. Both of our setups are basically the same 3 items, just in different variations that take up different amounts of space. There's a sleeping bag, a tent, and something soft to put under the sleeping bag. In my case, I have a larger tent, a cold weather sleeping bag, which is more poofy, and a solid foam mat to put under it from the Army surplus store. Moses, on the other hand, is using a smaller tent, a warm weather sleeping bag, and an inflatable mat to put under it. All of these are the more compact versions, something to consider when selecting your gear. Personally, I like my setup because when I strap it on the bike, it looks like the chrono tanks from Command & Conquer Red Alert. But it is actually pretty heavy, as we learned in the last video where I had to hang my bike from the ceiling on the aero train. Oh yeah, more about this useless piece of plastic on top that I found ended up being useful because it's now a carrying handle for this, and it's actually how I mounted the light on the back. Because prior to this, my camping setup would block my rear light, and I'm like, oh no, I can't go out at night, but this saved the day. I don't know if this is proper procedure, since we don't have rear view mirrors. So today I'm getting full marks for setting up my tent properly. Like I actually put the roof on it, I usually don't. But the downside of that is it creates multiple new tripping hazards along the side of it, where this is tethered to the ground. But at least it's more luxurious than leaving it blank or just wrapping a blue tarp along the top like I do sometimes. Your tent is really like compact and simple.
I know, right?
So since they took away the picnic bench, we're gonna use this one right here, which looks like it's been here since the 70s when this place was first opened. And definitely doesn't look level anymore for sure. I feel like I'm sliding off the edge of it. So we went to Winco last night where I got to use the grind your own peanut butter machine, which is really cool and actually really affordable and really sustainable because you can go back and use the same container over and over again, unlike those jars that are impossible to clean out. And I know Miles in Transit will probably for buying the store brand pretzels, but you know what? They were cheaper, it was a bigger bag, and I run less the risk of eating them all in one sitting because on the down low, Snyder's are actually the best. And then I got some Turkish apricots from elsewhere. I feel like this has been happening to me a lot lately is when your Ziploc bags start delaminating and the Ziploc does no longer lock or zip. But you know what? What can you do? It's so foamy. It's so good. As the day went on, it became entirely too hot to be hanging out in the tent, and the Park Services sent the leaf blower team to our vicinity for some reason on a Saturday afternoon of all times, so I decided it was time to go exploring. First I rode to the marina store, which was much more stocked than the last time I was here. They used to have an actual building, but now it's like a bunch of portables. Still, better than not having access to food or anything. I then proceeded past the boat launch, where people can bring in their own PWC.
Oh, you know, personal watercraft.
I want to go to that island, it looks cool. After looking at the map, I made it my duty to find this water slide. There's a nice bike path between the main road and the parking lots, which provides easy access to all the beaches. It also prevents you from having to compete with pedestrian traffic closer to the beach. This path connects with the one that goes all the way around the lake, which we will be going on later. I can't seem to find the aforementioned water slide. This doesn't look like I'm supposed to be here. Like I always say, if a picture is worth 1,000 words, a video is worth 30,000 words per second. At least in the frame rate I film in. Where's the water slide? So there's this island right there. That's really cool. But I can't seem to find the water slide. Newsflash. The water slide was demolished almost 20 years ago? So they really need to update their signage. Getting people's hopes up. Let's review the shower. It's a shower. You get clean. And it's accessible. The sun is beginning to fade on this fine late summer day, which means it is perfect time to go for a bike ride around the lake. But not first without reviewing the bench on the east side of the horseshoe courts. It is significantly less tilted, but a big gaping hole in it from wood decay. I mean, for a 50-year-old reservoir campground, Lake Perris is doing pretty good. And I like that the bathrooms, you still don't have to pay to use the shower. So there's at least one perk of it being old and outdated. Lake Perris has so many activities. From biking to boating, rock climbing, and windsurfing, there's a lot of fun to be had here. To me, the main attraction is the bike loop around the lake. It is so scenic. Another activity here is hunting, which occurs on the east side of the lake. Consequently, this stretch of bike trail is closed during certain times, which is worth paying attention to so you don't get accidentally shot at. The bike loop has restrooms and shelters spaced periodically throughout, which are very convenient. Sunset shots. Everyone loves them. The cliff sides to the south are so massive and awe-inspiring, words cannot describe it. That's the appeal of Lake Perris. It's close enough to civilization to be convenient, but just far enough away to feel like a retreat. and with the completion of the Perris Valley extension in 2016, it's easier than ever to get to for people like me who refuse to buy a car. I think that in itself is worth having missed out on the water slide. Sorry, my bike needs to use the toilet, and by that I mean I do. I like how the birds noticed the 3-inch gap under the door and were like, hey, this looks like a good place to build a nest. Except that's a terrible place to build a nest because all the slamming of the door caused your eggs to fall out. Continuing west, we approach the south coast of the lake, known as Bernasconi Beach, a lesser-used area which has its own separate entrance, completely separated to vehicle traffic from the rest of the lake. I stopped here to try to paint the sunset. Okay, I tried. I haven't done watercolor in years. Not since I made the Cloud Fortress. But hey, the dark is coming on, and we'll skip ahead to the dam. It was getting too dark to get any dam footage, but fortunately I took some last time I was here. Wait, never mind. In the middle of the dam is the obligatory brass plaque displaying all the names of the important people involved, including then-Governor Ronald Reagan, who was present at the opening ceremony in 1973. Lake Perris wasn't built simply for recreation. It's part of a meticulously crafted network of aqueducts and reservoirs which provide Southern California with most of its water. Being a dry climate with an immense population, the demand for water necessitated some amazing feats of engineering. Here's a short version of the history. First, in the 1910s, the Los Angeles Aqueduct was built, bringing water from the Owens Valley in the Sierras. Then in the 1930s, there were a lot of bored people due to the Great Depression, so the government hired them to build the Colorado River Aqueduct, bringing water from, well, the name says it all. Then in the 1970s, with suburban sprawl going crazy, there was demand for even more water, so the California Aqueduct was constructed, bringing water from Northern California, and Lake Perris was part of this project. So much for my good shot. Look at all that smog over there. Oh, look at that. So additionally, there's some type of motocross track down there. Seems like it's active right now. I think I ran over a snake back there. Sorry, I didn't mean to. Also, that's the Lake Perris Fairgrounds down there, and we were a few weeks off from seeing Little Rob performing. So sad. Making our way back to the north shore of the lake, it's time to head back and... Wait, what's this? Bikes not allowed? On the dam? Wait, if bikes aren't allowed on the dam, then why is there this sign right next to the dam gate that has a bicycle on it? I'm gonna have to call plausible deniability on this one, 'cause I always see people biking on the dam. Why shouldn't we? Making our way back to the campsite, it's time to eat something that isn't pretzels and peanut butter. Today we brought some sprouted rice and lentils with summer squash to cook on the fire pit. Summer squash, it's the happier squash. Nice shirt.
Oh, thank you. I was getting cold. This shirt came in cold.
Yeah. The ride back to Moreno Valley Station next morning was pretty uneventful. Only thing noteworthy was I found another broom. This has got to be the 15th broom I found. I don't know why, but brooms and full rolls of tape are my most common ride finds. It's such a strange phenomenon. For the return trip, we'll be taking the 91 line all the way to LA, and then the San Bernardino line up to Pomona North. But wouldn't it be shorter just to transfer in Riverside? Yes, but we would have to wait until 4:40 p.m. for the first northbound IEOC train, so that doesn't really make any sense. That's just the weekend schedule for you. Squashy Grapefruit, you haven't made your obligatory cameo appearance yet. Well, how was the food? It was really good. It may have been a little undersalted, and one of those squashes had a really thick skin, so it was kind of like eating a really good meal with shards of tree bark in it, which you kind of had to separate. And as for the salt issue, the good thing about carrying a bag of pretzels is you can always just pour the dust that settles at the bottom of the bag in as a salt substitute. So yeah. It's a nice sprinkly morning. heading to LA. We got the early train, so we're gonna have an hour to chill out. Oh, and there will be no such chilling in LA. There's new trains to try out. The recently opened regional connector tunnel, which made the new A-line possible, is something I've been excited about. So we're gonna ride that during our layover. Sorry, pigeons, not today. We are now on the A-line and are about to head underground. Looks like this train has the old version of the map, which still shows the regional connector under construction. Basically what happened was, there used to be 3 lines in question here. The Gold Line, the Blue Line, and the Expo Line. In order to get to Long Beach or Santa Monica from Union Station, you would have had to transfer at 7th Street via the purple or red lines first. This new tunnel that was just completed eliminated the need for that, and the 3 lines were consolidated into the A and E lines, and in the process the A line became the longest light rail line in the world at 48.5 miles, which is still going to be extended further east. One thing I took note of in other people's videos was that the new tunnel had significantly more lighting than the original tunnel past 7th Street, which was something I was looking out for.
Exit here for Crypto.com Arena, LA Live, and the Convention Center. Connect here with the Metro E line, the nearby Metro J line, and remember to tap again to transfer.
I decided to turn around at San Pedro Street, partially because it's named after me, and partially because it seemed like a reasonable distance which I could safely make it back to my train in time. Alright, let's get in the Pride car. You know, if I was from another country or a different time period, I may interpret this meaning that gay people are only allowed to ride in the back of the train, but the real problem I have with this is, how am I supposed to ride with Pride if the windows are dotted?
I will never stop complaining about the dots, ever.
Welcome aboard the Metro A line. This train's final destination is Final Destination.
I'm taking note of Metro's bicycle length restrictions, because it seems with the camping equipment it's not fitting very well. At least I don't have to hang it from the ceiling. Uh-oh. That's more than 6 feet. Yes, we've made it back. And exciting things are coming soon to this station in that the A line that we were just on earlier is being extended and the platform is being built right over there. So you can be redundancy in that you can either take Metrolink or Metro to LA from Pomona. And I'm not sure why you would choose to take the A line because it's probably slower. But you can take it to Pasadena. But more important than that is Foothill Transit is extending the 289 bus to this vicinity and to Montclair, so people that live in my neck of the woods can take a bus to a train station that actually has weekend service. Yeah, I'm excited for that. On their website, it looks like that's happening no sooner than the end of October 2023, so I'm gonna totally do a video on that. But yeah, it was a nice camping trip. As good of sleep as I claim to have had at the campground, I actually dozed off pretty good on that train. But yeah, it was a great adventure. I need more Winco peanut butter. Now I know they just renamed the Gold Line to the A Line, but once it comes all the way to Pomona, I think they're gonna have to rename it the Sugar-Free Snoop Line. I'm probably the only one that's ever gonna call it that. But yeah, it is a nice gloomy day with nice sprinkles. And everyone loves the sprinkles.